As project work progresses, it's critically important to achieve an effective state of flow and productivity for the Agile project team. Setting work in progress limits, or WIP limits, help do this. There are a number of benefits to setting and utilizing WIP limits. For example, by setting WIP limits, we help prevent bottlenecks. Once we have a limit on how many things we can be doing at one given time, we start to see where there might be areas that are bottlenecks and start to remove them. And by doing so, we improve throughput. Also, just by the fact that we're starting to look at what our workflow looks like, we start to see steps in our workflow that may not be adding value to the end product, which also improves throughput. By setting WIP limits, we also look at what is the minimum and maximum amount of work that we want the team to be working on concurrently. We want the limit to be realistic so that we don't start to try and multitask within the team, which ultimately causes more damage than it does good. Usually, we'll set those limits and agree on them during the planning parts of the project. Also, by having WIP limits, we can start to identify areas of idleness or overload. So, for example, if we start to see an iteration that has an overload of tasks associated with it that aren't progressing, we know that there's something going wrong, and there's something that's contributing to either idleness in one area or too much to do in another area. And it may be, for example, we don't have enough developers or QA testers to help move the process along. By identifying those areas of idleness or overload or inefficiencies, we can start to fix those issues and help the team get what they need in order to get the work done. So the goals of setting WIP limits are having consistently sized tasks. By setting a limit on how many things can be done at one time, we want them to be similarly sized so that it makes sense to have a limit on, for example, 2 items at one time, or 4 or 5. Also, we want to make sure that those individual tasks don't take longer than a couple of days. Another goal of setting WIP limits is to reduce idleness. So, for example, if we have, as a team, an overall and collective WIP limit, and we start to see that we're not able to move things forward because there are some things that are stuck, then team members can collaborate and help each other to move those items, and start to help other team members in getting their work done. Another goal is to protect the quality of work, so we want to ensure that team members aren't rushing through work and multitasking. By setting those limits, we're trying to give the team the feeling that you should be spending your time as you're doing these tasks and doing the quality work so that you can move it along, and then pick up a new item and focus on that new item. So we're establishing focus and we're establishing a state of flow within the team. In summary, setting WIP limits helps prevent bottlenecks, improves throughput, helps determine the minimum and maximum amount of work, ensures limits determined and agreed upon, and helps you identify areas of idleness or overload.